Alright, good evening. Welcome to Axiom Curb, the 12th of August, 2018. It's a Sunday night. I'm PJ. We're going live for an open mic show. It's open mic, any topic, anyone welcome. I've got currently Predator Jeff, Stavros, and Jouster, although he is temporarily silent until he finds his mic. So, hello guys, how are we all doing? It's been a while since we've done a show, but I wanted to do this one tonight. I like these open mic discussions, I think they're pretty good. All we need is a few people to join in that haven't been on before. And to do that, you're going to need to look at the top left hand side of your screen to see the link. Just simply put that link in your address box on your browser, hit go, and it should eventually connect you up to the room that we're in now. You don't need to sign up, you don't need to log in. You just need to type that into your address bar and click enter. So, hello guys, how are we all doing? Jeff, Stav, Jouster, can you hear me?
Right, PJ, how's it going, mate? You can hear you loud and proud. Wall to wall, treetops tall, buddy.
Good. Yeah, doing good, Jeff. Stav, how you doing, mate?
Hey, PJ. Yeah, I'm alright, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, doing good. Jouster, if you're the eldest, say hello. I'm not sure if you've got your microphone working, but didn't want to leave you out. So hello, Jouster. Yep, doing good, guys. So what's on the tip of the tongue for tonight?
Well, we were going to start with Rastaman Stav and his immigration song, but it's not going to happen tonight, unfortunately. But we're going to save that for a special for another day. So
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you want to all talk about, guys, but I was thinking we might kick off with a little chat about after recess. I think we're going to get a new prime minister, a new Tory leader, rather. And I was going to discuss about that if you're up for it.
Yeah, can do. We can start the show off with that if you want. What's your
Okie
thoughts then, Jeff? What you been thinking about lately?
Well, I try not to think too hard because, the sawdust don't always work up top. But, I was thinking earlier on that I reckon I get the distinct impression that when they come back after recess, our MP man, our MP men, our politicians class or whatever you want to call them, I think they're gonna do what they did with David Cameron standing down. I think Theresa May's gonna step up and stand down, if you know what I mean, and then they'll probably get a couple of offers thrown into the ring. I get the impression it'd be Sajid Javid and Bojo de Klang, i.e. Boris Johnson. I think they'll both be throwing their hat into the ring. And I don't think we'll get a voice on it. It won't be down to the people to choose. I think it will be the MPs that will choose one or the other. But like they did when you had the fight between Andrea Leadsom and Theresa May. Although Andrea Leadsom stepped down, didn't she, after a short while, and Theresa May won it by default. So I think we'll have Bojo the Clown and Sajid Javid. I'm hoping if it's either one of those, I'm hoping it'll be Bojo because I think Sajid, or whatever he calls it, I have a hard job pronouncing that bloody name, actually. Well, I know Bojo is pro-Brexit, so I think he'd be good for the Brexit. Don't know about Sajid. Is he a Remainer?
I don't know. What makes you so sure about Boris being pro-Brexit?
Well, so far he was part of the Leave team, and there was a few of them on the Leave team, weren't there? There was Bojo, Priti Patel, who else was it? Gove. But Gove is sort of doubled back a bit, I think. He's gone sort of more towards Theresa May's stance of of having this rule book or whatever. I'm not sure about Gove. I don't trust him, wouldn't want him in anyway. And I think he's doubled back on himself. But I think Bojo's pretty hardline Brexiteer, I mean, I don't know. I might be wrong. I mean, he might surprise us all, but I got a feeling he's a hard. I mean, Jacob Rees-Mogg, he's hardline Brexiteer, but unfortunately, Mr. Mogg is only a backbench Tory. He's not a senior MP, is he? So he won't get the option. So it's a pity, really, because he really is a hardline Brexiteer. But I think Bojo's pretty. I think we'll get pretty much what we want with Bojo. I think hopefully. It's hard to tell because they don't always stick to their guns, do they? But time will tell on that. What do you think, Stav? What candidates do you think will have, Stav?
Oh, I think there'll be more than that will first come out. I think I'm proud to be a Zionist. Michael Gove will throw his hat in the ring.
I'm proud to be a Zionist, Michael Gove. Nice one, Stav.
Well, that's what he said. That's what he said at the Friends of Israel rally, didn't he? He said it. So.
Well, we don't want him to be the bloody Zionist, do we? But,
wow, he's a typical. He reminds me of a Tory version of the. What was his name? He was portrayed by a snake in. What was the bloody? What was the puppeteer thing in the 70s and 80s?
Puppeteer thing?
Yeah, on the telly. Spitting Image, the snake Mandelson.
Oh.
so Michael Gove reminds me of him as a Tory version of him.
Right.
So he'll slither around and do his thing. Maybe somebody completely out of the blue might put their hat in the ring. I don't know if he's the only guy to mention how Alfred the Great and common law Harry Potter, as I call him.
Who, Jacob Rees-Mogg?
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Potter.
Well, he looks a little bit like him, doesn't he?
Good
He
enough.
would. Well, he would be the what was it, the I can't remember, the two different teams in the Harry Potter movie. You had Slytherin on one side, and what was the other one's called?
I've never seen it, to be honest, but I have seen.
Oh yeah.
I've seen Harry Potter, and he does look a bit like Jacob Rees-Mogg, doesn't he? Little version.
Yeah, Dumbledore, oh no, that was the name of the guy, wasn't it? The wise man. Oh, I don't know. Stupidity. Yeah, I think somebody from he won't. I think he wants to be. He might be a member of the cabinet if Boris Johnson gets the leadership. But if I remember rightly, originally Boris Johnson was very much stay in the EU. Then when the Brexit came along, he went, this looks good. Yes.
That is worrying. Because
yes.
if he turns tail and gets in as a Brexit candidate, he could turn around and double turn again. That would be a bit of a worry for me, because I would like to see a hardline Brexiteer up front who's not going to chop and change, who's going to show some strength and a bit of backbone and stand up for the British people, for the 17.4 million voters.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see. But we'll get what we get, won't we? But I mean, still, so it could be Gove, it could be Savage Javid, or whatever his name is.
No, I can't see him.
Savage Javid, is it? And
something like that. I can't see him.
I know Theresa May would like Sajid Javid to be the next Prime Minister, I think, because I think she's been touting him to be next Prime Minister for a while now. I think she's been trying to get us used to the idea. I would consider that an act of treason, quite frankly, because he's a Muslim, he's not Christian, he's not white. And so I think our ancestors put in place these um, well, that checks and balances to make sure that we don't get infiltrated. I don't want Britain becoming a bloody Muslim caliphate. So, you know, for me, Sajid Javid wouldn't even get a look in if it was down to me. But Bojo, I think out of the two, I think gets my vote. Who gets your vote out of Gove, Sajid, and Bojo?
Well, it doesn't matter what I vote, and I don't vote anyway. But
Oh, we're
I
not
don't
going to
think.
get a vote, but I mean,
Well, I don't vote.
Yes, I know it's a.
I don't vote, as you know. Never voted, never would.
yeah,
But
I don't.
what I will say to you, Jeff, is if you would rather have Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister rather than the, you know, Home Office, yeah,
Rather than who?
rather than part of the Home Office like Sajid Javid's got a minute, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because if you want immigration dealt with, you'd be better off really having Boris Johnson and make do with Sajid Javid being Prime Minister because then you've got more chance Boris doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, PJ. To be honest, I'm along the same lines as you on that.
Prime Ministers come and go, but usually once they have come and gone, it's these other people in roles. Yeah, fair enough. It might be a little reshuffle, but
Yeah,
not everybody gets reshuffled.
there might be. There probably have to be some sort of cabinet reshuffle after a new minister is elected, to a degree.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
all I'm saying is you don't really want Sajid Javid permanently locked in that position he's currently in because that's not very healthy for the country, in my opinion.
but then I think he would be even worse as a prime minister. So
Well, it depends what role he's got and what decisions he's making and you know what he's bringing into play. I mean, just because the prime minister don't mean they get to control every aspect of society.
yeah, I can see what you're saying there, PJ. Oh, you've got a good point. So likely candidates are Gove, Bojo, and Sajid Javid. Any other candidates that we think we might get? What about that Dominic? What's his name? Dominic Raab?
No.
Dominic Raab, is it?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know what
no.
info is that into the ring. I don't know.
Well, what's it? Is he took over David Davis, did he, for Brexit secretary? Am I right?
That's, yeah, he did. Yeah, but I don't know if he's a genuine Brexiteer or not. I
Well,
don't know
I'll tell
whether.
you something that not many are actually speaking about, and I don't really know why. But let me just ask you this one question, and don't Google it, Jeff. Right? Who is the current minister for the Department for Work and Pensions?
Oh, I know it used to
Hey,
be. I
don't
know.
Google it. Don't Google it. Who is it?
I'm not googling it. I know it used to be Ian Duncan Smith.
Exactly. There used to be a time where everybody, you know, would be able to answer that question like that.
Yeah.
Right? But no one can do it now. Not many can do it. It's Esther McVeigh.
McPhee.
I was going to say, not Esther McVeigh, is it? I was just about to say that.
Worded.
It's Esther McVeigh.
God help her.
Yeah.
I thought she got chucked out of the bloody Tory party a while back. She's back again, you see, with a vengeance.
I could have told you that, PJ, but you didn't open it to the floor.
Yes.
No, it was that one was just for Jeff. It was just for Jeff, that stuff.
I can tell you, it's not so much who we want, but you'll probably get Boris Johnson, and there's a few reasons for why. But two reasons is one, he's a dual citizen of the British and American citizen. He's an American citizen and a British citizen.
Not Turkey then.
The other,
He's not Turkish citizen then, is that? No.
no, he was born in Manhattan, New York.
Oh, really?
Yes, Boris Johnson was born there.
Where,
So
where,
he's
where, is,
got
where is Dad born? Is Dad born here?
His grandfather was an Ottoman.
Yeah,
But,
I know his grandfather were an Ottoman, but where was Stanley born? Were he born in Britain, England? Yeah.
He's English, yeah. But anyway, the other thing is a little something I'd like to read you here. I'm not going to read you the thing. I just made a couple of notes. It was something that was put out today, and now we know when Donald Trump came over, um, this, that, and the other was going on. But in the background, there was a bloke called Steve Bannon who came over. Now, he's not part of the Trump administration, but he originally was, and he was, they say, one of the reasons why he got in, or partly one of the reasons why he got in. Anyway, long story short, Boris Johnson has been chatting to him, I suppose on record and off record, but anyway, there's something that came out today which is awfully interesting, and it's this, and it's on several websites, news sites, and the headline is, if this was off of RT, give them the credit because I just copied it off there and just made a note of it actually. It's back US on Iran sanctions or face serious consequences for business. Ambassador to UK, Woody Johnson. Now, isn't that strange? Woody Johnson, his name is. Boris Johnson. Anyway, that's a long shot. Anyway, Johnson's plea comes days after US President Donald Trump upped sanctions on Iran after the US withdrew from the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran nuclear deal in May. The historic deal backed the US, Russia and China and negotiated by the EU saw the lifting of economic sanctions against Iran for ditching its nuclear program, as we know. I think it's called JOPO or something, I don't know what. Anyway, calling renewed sanctions the most biggest ever imposed, Trump also threatened via Twitter that anyone doing business with Iran will not be doing business with the United States. So here you have the threat from the American administration to to end the special relationship between the UK and US, we could say, since the founding fathers, couldn't we? I'm not saying it's all being lined up, but it awfully does smell a little bit fishy with what's been happening just lately. So I think you will get Johnson regardless, whoever's put up against him. And I think that's all baked in the cake now, Jeff.
Well, that's good in a way, but what I don't understand, Stav, and maybe you like.
Who's that? Pardon? Well, the the energy company. Oh, Mustafa guy. Mohammed Mustafa or something. Who are you on about? Sorry? I don't know what you're on about.
You can't have somebody called Mustafa as Prime Minister. That's an outrageous point.
I've tangled that. Oh, he's gone. I'm not sure if he's still are we still streaming if he's not around?
Well, that's Jouster. Yeah, it's Jouster that's gone for some reason. Who did I sound like then when I just said that? Anyway, Nadine Sahawi. We can't have somebody called Nadine Sahawi. That's an
Well, he's an Iraqi. He was born in Iraq. He was born in Iraq, wasn't he? If I remember rightly. I think he was born in Iraq.
Good God, we got bloody Sadiq Khan. Sadiq Khan, we got Savage.
Yeah,
we got Savage Javid, we got bloody Nadine something or other. Names that I can't even bloody pronounce. What is happening to our country? For crying out loud, we can't even pronounce the names of these people. Something seriously wrong. This is treason. Why aren't people shouting treason from the bloody rooftops? This is outrageous. Preposterous. I mean, we can't have country for crying out loud. I mean, I'm not saying it to be racist.
There's a man in the bath.
I'm not saying. Hang on a sec. I'm not saying it to be racist. I'm not saying it to be Islamophobic or anything. But for crying out loud, when you're getting all these funny names that you can't even pronounce being offered up into jobs of influence and power, why isn't treason being shouted from the bloody rooftops? You see what I'm saying? Our ancestors wouldn't even have dreamed of such an outrageous proposition. Absolutely outrageous. Sorry, I had to have this rant because it's getting on my tits. You know what I mean? Sorry, guys, I had to have that rant. Excuse me, that rant, if you will.
Yeah, well, PJ, but why do you think PJ he will throw his hat in the ring then?
Because he's another one up for, you know, the great opportunity.
Yeah, PJ, I thought Stav said PJ was going to throw his hat in the ring. I was going to say, I don't mind as long as he ain't wearing a bleeding turban and got a name like me.
Odd job hat.
Hello.
Who we got with us?
Who's that?
It's Chrissy.
Hey, Chrissy.
How we doing, guys?
Chrissy.
Hey, mate.
Hey,
Good to hear from you.
You all right? Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
we're,
Oh, I've just lost my screen.
we're just debating. It's an open mic thing we're doing tonight, Chrissy, but we're sort of we're at the moment debating. Excuse me. We're at the moment debating about who we think is going to be the next Tory leader, because we think
Ray Smog.
Hey?
Ray Smog.
You can't. The backbencher.
Only a backbencher.
I reckon there'll be some stuff going on there. I know what you mean. He's got to be from the ministry, but I just get that feeling that,
To be honest,
for nothing we get together.
yeah. To be honest, Chrissy, I'd like it to be Rees-Mogg because he sort of speaks more of the language of the people than anybody.
No, he's more slippery than a snake wearing a top hat.
Well, they all are, aren't they? Let's face it.
Yeah, but in more.
Eh?
In more so. What's going on the phone?
We think the people that are likely to throw their hat in the ring for a leadership contention, I don't think it'd be Monk. He's a backbencher, so we think it'd be probably between Bojo the Clang, Sajid Javid, whatever his blooming name is, and what's his name, Michael Gove. We think that.
Javid is no chance because this country is still too racist.
Well, no, we're not racist. We're not a racist country at all.
I think the country is, mate.
Well,
There's a lot of people here that wouldn't want an Indian descended guy to be in charge of the country.
I would argue that point, Chrissy. I would say that we're not a racist nation. We're a very tolerant nation, but I think we're a xenophobic nation. Now, that's not to say that we're racist. Excuse me. That's not to say that we're racist. It means we have a slight fear, maybe not an irrational fear. In fact, xenophobic is probably the wrong word. Let's say xenocautious. How about that for a word? Xenocautious. Because I think that you've got to be careful as a nation. I think, seriously, you have to be careful as a nation not to let people of foreign descent into positions of power and influence, because they can treasonously infiltrate and then put other people of foreign descent into positions of power. And before you know it, your country isn't your own anymore. You see what I'm saying? So I think it's strategically dangerous. And
they're already treasonous. They have been for centuries, and they're only out for themselves.
True.
And the simple fact of the matter is that there's not enough people in this country that would want a brown man on, in charge of the nation.
I don't think people are worried about the colour of the skin so much. I think they're worried about religious convictions, maybe.
Let's put it this way, right? Someone did that survey, or a survey was done, and India turned out to be the most racist country. Yeah. Now, what's the chances of India ever having like a white leader? Do you think that'd happen before we have a Muslim leader, or what?
Not by choice of the Indian majority, no. I think India, you've got to realise that we haven't been used, abused, and ruined by India. India have been used, abused, and ruined by Great Britain. So
I'd argue
the Indians have got a lot more resentment towards the British, and rightly so, than the British have got towards the Indians. I mean, it's all we're worried about is that Indians have taken over too many corner shops, for instance. Whereas the Indians, we killed millions of them, and we pillaged their country. When we had the empire.
I mean, I would argue that point as well, because we considered India to be the jewel in the crown.
Jewel in the crown.
The jewel of the crown of the British Empire. And although they were a colony, a sort of colony of England, if you like, I think we treated them quite fairly in a lot of ways. And they sort of looked up to the leadership of the Empire, because we actually sort of ruled over them fairly decently compared to our
Can't agree, Bob. We caused famine over there. We killed millions of them.
Really?
Yeah. Have a look what Churchill done in the. I can't remember what it was. Churchill in the Second World War, or just before, or during, or whenever, he killed like 4 million Indians.
Really?
Yeah, mate.
I think they're all as bad as one another. To be honest, Chrissy, I think they're all as bad as one another. I know what Churchill did to the Germans was absolutely appalling. That the loss of the German people was absolutely tragic. I mean, you're talking like something like at least 10 million Germans were killed during.
Did you ever hear about the German chief executioner? I think his name, I might get this wrong, was Johann Reinhardt. He would kill up to 300 Germans a day. He had a special guillotine made, and he would dispatch people in 4 seconds.
And this was a German.
This is never taught, to any of our school children, or never spoken about. And at the end of the war, they asked him if he would be the executioner for the Allies against the Germans that was captured, and he ended up being the executioner.
Thank God. And he was a German himself. And he was a German himself, Chrissy.
He's gone.
Oh, bloody hell.
A lot of Arabic
just lost connection to
scholars
Chris
and Indian scholars would argue the point that the biggest thing for Indian genocide was a religion called Islam.
Ah. Well, we know that there was the split of India, wasn't there? Was it India that split to Afghanistan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's that 6 number again, but over 60 million Indians, including Bangladeshis, were killed by Islamic conquest. But you've got to do a bit of studying to check that out.
Because India is typically a Hindu nation, isn't it? Whereas Pakistan, that what they now call Pakistan, is a Muslim enclave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's right. I mean, you only have to go back to 1971. You don't even have to go back to the Second World War. The Pakistan Army, which is Islamic, killed 3 million Bangladeshis in 1971.
Ouch. Isn't it awful? Why can't people bloody... I think religion's got an awful lot to answer for. I mean, I know, Stab, the banks. The banks nowadays are probably the biggest enemy of mankind, and we know they pull a lot of strings in the background, funding both sides of different wars and everything. But don't you feel that a lot of the shit that goes on in this world, pardon my French, is to do with religions? Because I feel
Well,
that.
yeah, but you got to check out for what religions really were in the times past. When I say 60 million Indians and Islam, you have to work out these happened over a period of 1400 years, and there are different sects. We have the Wahhabists, the Salafists, and um,
Chinese.
and different sects. I haven't got my teeth in tonight, but so to put the blame on one big label is kind of you've got to do a lot of research and
Well, you
whatever.
got.
I mean, I'm not a scholar, but from what I've read and listened to um, scholars of India, I've listened to their interpretation of what happened and how it all come about and. It's not easy to just put a finger on and say, well, the British Empire caused all this shit in India. They killed hundreds and thousands and millions of Indians. Well, it's easy to do that if you want to go back 40, 50 years. But
Yeah.
if you want to go back to where, all these things started and throughout the centuries, then you'll see that everybody's been killing everybody else. Islamic conquests, and then we had the Reconquista by the Christians over the Islamics. We had the Roman Empire. We had all of this stuff. Then we had Alexander the Great. Spartans. We had all these things happen, and everybody's killed everybody. So if you really want to go back only the last few decades, but
Yeah.
you
I mean,
don't.
I heard
You have
the
to
other
take the
day,
whole thing for what it is.
I heard the other day, Stav, somebody talking about Genghis Khan. Now, Genghis Khan killed like something like 40 million or something like that. And
Yeah.
in outer Mongolia or whatever it is, they've got his statue up, and he's very popular, very very popular. Even though he was a complete bloody maniac, they've actually got his statue up everywhere in Mongolia. Now, um, now it could be the reason for that could be because um, he he sort of he took himself lots of women when he was the leader of Mongolia or whatever it was, the Mongol hordes or whatever they called it. So a lot of people are descended from him from that throughout the whole of East Asian countries like China and all that, and Japan. It's something like 1/6 or something like that. About 1/6 of all Eastern Asians are actually descended from Genghis Khan. Now he must have been in and out like a bloody fiddler's elbow. This bloke, he must have been doing it every 5 minutes with every woman he could get hold of to have that many people descended from him. But he apparently they got his statues up everywhere, considering all the terrible atrocities that he did, which is incredible. I find it amazing that people would sort of, worship at the altar of Genghis Khan of all people. I mean, it's a mad world we're living in, isn't it, Stab? It's a crazy world.
Well, it is when you've got people of a, should we say, who's quite high in an opposition political party, saying that I am a communist and I'm proud to be called a communist.
Yeah.
When he worships the little red book of Lenin, and we all know what the Russian Revolution done. How many millions? And
Oh,
you've got somebody who could be quite high up in the next government if Labour get in, if Corbyn gets in, and you've got his right hand man, who's proud to be a communist. I am a communist, he said, and we've got our little red book, and everybody's going to have a little red book. This is Lenin. He's talking about Lenin. He's talking about communism. So
yeah.
and we know that the communism is
Look at the Miliband brothers.
as bad as anything else.
Look at the Miliband brothers. They're both self-confessed Marxists. You
Yeah.
know that, don't you, Stav?
Yes, of course they do, because their father was a Marxist. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. And then you
Yeah.
got Corbyn, and he's a happy little fabled socialist.
Yes,
So
of
he's
course.
probably a bit of a communist man himself. So this, I mean, I think, to be honest, in the political sphere, Stav, I think we've got more communists now in the political sphere than we've got fascists. I think we've got more communists than fascists, more left wing commies than right wing fascists. That's how weird it is. Now, fascism, I'm not singing the praises of fascism by all means, because we know what the Roman Empire was like. That was a fascist thing. We had Hitler, who was fascist, and all the rest of it. But then again, would you rather have fascism or communism if you had to choose? Not that you'd want either, but I mean, I think personally, I'd rather err on the fascist side than the communist side, because communism all sounds wonderful and lovely and cuddly and sweet and equality and all that, uh, but it isn't. There's nothing sweet and cuddly about communism. In fact, it is absolutely diabolical when you look through history and you see the results of it. What it proclaims to be and what it is two different things
Well,
entirely.
I think all of it. I mean, like we was talking about the Islamic conquest in the 8th century.
Yeah,
If anybody's read their history about that, that's one thing. And then that was counteracted by Charlemagne, which he was the first Holy Roman Emperor. Remember, the Holy Roman Empire. Remember that started with Charlemagne. This isn't the Roman Empire that fell in 450 AD or whatever. This is the Holy Roman Empire, which started with Charles Martel's grandson, Charlemagne. He was the first ever Holy Roman Empire. So then, the Islamic conquest was counteracted by, they called it the Reconquista, back all the way, which led into what they called the Crusades and into Jerusalem and ever. The Ottoman Empire came along and pushed it back, and Saladin, and we got this to and fro between the two religions, which are isms, isn't it? In a way. So
Harry's a little.
it's just morphs into political parties, and you've only got to look into political history when you had the Whigs and the Tories.
That's right.
The
Yeah,
Whigs, the Whigs, the Whigs were the Protestants. The Tories were the Catholics. So again, you got this two-sided deal of a religious type thing after the Church of England came in with Henry VIII. So we've always got that one or this one, that one. I think it's time for, I think, me personally, individual sovereignty,
yeah.
the golden rule, common law in a sense, what it really was in the Anglo-Saxon days, that type of thing. But individual sovereignty, golden rule, I think it's time it came about, instead of picking between the lesser of the two evils, or what you think, because they're both the same, really, when it comes down to it.
Indeed. I found a little nugget of information actually. I was reading about that Charles Martel the other day. And do you know what the name Martel means?
Yes, I can't really,
It means, go on, I'll let you have a go
I'm
first.
trying to think. I'm trying to think.
No Googling.
No, 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 I'm not. No, no, I did know. Go on, Jeff, I forgot.
I think it means the hammer.
That's right, he was the hammer, yeah.
That's
That's it.
right. And yeah, I think if it weren't for him, I think we'd all be praying 5 times a day to Allah, uh,
Yes, of course.
pointing towards Mecca. If it weren't
Yes.
for Charles Martel, so we've got a lot to thank him for, um, and we've got a
Well,
lot.
he wasn't, yeah. The thing is, the Pope did proposition him after the Battle of Tours at Poitiers in central France, which stopped the Islamic conquest in its tracks. I mean, I think he defeated the Emir of Spain. I can't remember his name, but
Back through France into Spain, didn't he?
yeah, that's right. Because they came over the Pyrenees and they were into what they called Septimania, which was part of Aquitaine, as they later called it. Well, it wasn't just and southern France. But you see, the thing is, that pushed him back across the Pyrenees, because they were a formidable force. They had cavalry. That's where your cavalry comes from the Islamic forces, from the from the times of the Great Horsemen. That's where they had the cavalry first, and Charles Martel defeated them with the old Saxon infantry, which is one of the few times where infantry defeated cavalry. But what I'm saying is about all of this is it's just swapping one for t'other in a way over the centuries.
Yeah.
Over the centuries, it was mostly done for a religious type power and indoctrination, and then it then morphed into parliaments and political parties in the 16th, 17th century, and here we are now. But there's no real difference really, because they're both isms. I think you could call them. They're both ideals.
Well, I think
So
throughout history, like you said earlier, I think all these countries, no matter who they are, they've all been bloody brutal. They've all been brutal. They've all committed atrocities in massive ways. I mean, the UK government, if you remember, Porton Down and all the testing that they've done. I read something earlier on, actually, that was on about Porton Down, and somebody from Porton Down or something was asked, um, "Do you do any of this sort of stuff nowadays?" And he said something neutral. I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something like, "We do not discuss our current research." Now, it don't or something like that. We don't discuss our current research. So they could be testing on us now, spraying all sorts of poisons and shit onto us, and we wouldn't even know about it until sort of people start becoming ill or start being or birth defects happening and things like this. So we can't even trust our own government with our own people. Anybody who thinks they can trust the government with their own people, trust me, you cannot trust our own government, even for our own people. Um, they're brutal. They are a brutal bunch of psychopaths that we've got running us, and I wouldn't trust them for a minute, not for an iota. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could bloody throw them. But that's me personally. I mean, we've led as the human race, we've led such a brutal history. It's incredible. And whether it be one leader or another, it's never been the people have obviously been drafted into these wars quite often by force and not by choice. I mean, if you look at Stalin, he brought out his special order when it was in the Second World War, whereby he said, you can go forward but not one step backwards. You retreat, we'll kill you. And they had blockers, what they call blockers, put in place so that if anybody retreated, any of his line of infantry, Russian Soviet infantry, any of them take one step back, they'd shoot them. Just like that, their own people. This is the sort of psychopathic race that we've been over over history, and it's gotta say it is pretty bloody awful when you look into it. They reckon that governments have probably killed over 350 million people over the years. That's like killing one in every 21 people that's alive today. Once in every 20, one in every 21 or one in every 22 people that's alive today. That's how many people governments throughout the world have killed. Surely there's a better way of running our countries without. Maybe there's a way to do it without the government. That's what I would like to see, where people could just harmoniously live and coexist together without.
we're not ready, Jeff.
They're not ready.
People, no,
That's sad.
people won't be ready for hundreds of years until you've got people that will allow themselves to be controlled by other people, leaders, dictators, religions, institutions, corporations. People they give up their um, they give up their self responsibility to somebody else because they're not capable of doing it. So we're on the very, very beginnings of perhaps coming to some type of resolution for all of this, but it's way early. It's not even embryonic. With the internet, is I believe is only just the very start
Well,
of what can be.
I don't know what what's going on between Iran and America at the moment, but I will say this: if you look at how many wars Iran has started, you'll notice they haven't started a single war in at least 200 years. But then, if you compare America, they they've had wars for like just about every year since it was founded, bar about 20 or 30 years, I think, or something like that. And they have a major war every 20 years. And that's America. That's how bad its record is. America is truly dreadful. When it comes to wars, they live and breathe war, literally. So I don't know why all this is kicking off. I mean, if Iran has already removed its nuclear, well, I think they were just trying to get nuclear power stations up and running. I don't think it was about nuclear bombs at all. But if they've removed all possibilities of that, I don't know why Trump's going after Iran. I think, is he doing it for the bankers? What's this all about? Is Mr. Rothschild behind pulling his strings and saying we need a war with Iran because I need to stick one of my central banks in Iran? What do you think that's all about? What's that all about?
Well, I think he's still trying to save the hegemony. Personally, I think he's trying to make. Well, it doesn't really matter. That's how they've controlled things for the past 50, 60 years. Is to you already know that your own government says, look, if you don't do this, we'll put a gun to your head, basically, because you've got to do it. You or you starve or whatever. I don't, other governments, other countries, I don't know, but it's the same sort of thing. So why doesn't anybody expect that the rest of the world doesn't operate the same, which they do, obviously. Mm-hmm. So he's just trying to protect the hegemony, what's left, and before they can, I don't know, perhaps the guy's trying to work out deals to lessen the grip of the hegemony, but make sure it's the best for the Americas, for America. So, I don't know, but I think at the end of the day, he's only, MAGA, as he says, or they say. He's just trying to protect whatever they've got. And if that means wars and fighting, then, he without sin cast the first stone. And every country in the world has got people that are prepared to kill other people to get something.
Yeah, it's truly disgraceful, isn't it? We haven't come very far as a species, have we? I think
no.
I think the writing's on the wall for the human race, Stav. I think we're going to wipe ourselves out and go out in one big bang of glory. Whether that's a nuclear war or whether it's something else, I don't know. But it doesn't look hopeful, does it? We're still sort of primitive.
I think it'll carry on, Jeff, the way it has done. For the
primitive, territorial organisms. We don't seem to want to get over our territorialism as a species, because you've got Israel encroaching on Palestine, gradually diminishing the Gaza Strip and all that to nothing, and so we're still territorial. We still go after other countries' resources and all this sort of stuff. It's pretty sad, really, that mankind can't sort out their differences and try and help each other and live alongside each other. It's pretty pathetic, really.
Nothing there, Jeff. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and all my sisters were hippies.
Yeah.
Right, they went around with jeans and flowers in their hair and make love, not war. I grew up with all this, and
you know what I used to say, don't you, Stav? I used to say, make love, not war. I'm married and I do both.
Well, whatever. I mean, as I'm thinking about it now, I can see the Woodstock Festival in my mind. It's there just as vivid as it was yesterday. So, I mean, you know, a lot of people say, oh, that's a load of old crap because it was infiltrated. It was all started by the CIA and all this stuff and that. Conspiracy seems to be the way of the world, no doubt. But, I mean, you know, people believed that.
Yeah.
They went on protests and, you know, they were they lived their life around it. So a lot of people did. So it's nothing new. Just what's happening today with people so-called waking up that you know this great thing that the internet's brought us. No, it's always been there. It's
I
always
think,
been there,
yeah,
long
I
before
think,
the internet.
I think there's been a percentage of people waking up for a very long time. I don't think it's a sudden thing. I think there have been people. I mean, I've seen things in the past where people have. I mean, look at George Carlin, the comedian. He woke up bloody God knows how many years ago when he used to do all his comedy, and then there was
Yeah.
well, along there's other people that have been pretty much awake for decades. So it's nothing new. I think probably there is a bit of a resurgence of that waking up due to the internet. Um, whether it's whether anything will come of it, I don't know. But I know it's not easy. You can't kill an idea, and the good thing is, once the idea, you know, the genie's out of the bottle, that you can't put it back in easily. So we got a lot of people fighting for a freedom, and on the other side, you got the fat controllers, you know, trying to quell our freedom and put us back in the behaviour box and all this sort of nonsense. But we'll just have to see how it plays out. Any thoughts on, by the way, Stav, any thoughts on Alex Jones? I mean, yeah, I mean, we know that a lot of people don't like Alex Jones for whatever reason. But any thoughts on what's happened to him with his Facebook ban and Twitter ban or whatever it is?
Um, well, whatever you think of him, I mean, a few people have said this. I think whatever your thoughts on, whether you think he's a, you think you know, you think his information is BS, or whether you think he's an aggressive man and all the rest of it, and he's a corporate or he's a Zionist, he's a this, he's a that, whatever. At the end of the day, if you want to use the internet, and I didn't knock it, I was just saying earlier on the awakening. There's always been an awakening. There's always been people trying to say, why is the system like it is? I don't feel right. I feel like a fish out of water. Why do I feel like? It's always been there ever since I was young, and I'm sure it was there before me, my time, and they in between wars and stuff. But you've got to say that if they can, if you know, if they can cut him off any platforms, which they have done, they've cut his info wars. I know people still, and I look, and you get an Alex Jones you know, video up, but somebody else has put it off up from an interview from somebody else, so he's still managing to. And then he's got his app and that. From what I've heard, it's done him a great deal more good than bad because I think he's got more of a following now than. So it's kind of backfired a bit on the Googles and the Twitters and the Facebooks and the YouTubes.
I've noticed that happens sometimes because when because I think
AKA the
I think it's
Streisand effect.
yeah,
Yes, that's right, Peter.
Streisand
Anyway,
effect.
let me just say, Jeff, before I let you, you know, natter on, I'll think my YouTube subscription feed on, you know, recent new uploads has been like 1776 because there's been no Alex Jones popping up for ages. So
There you go then.
for me, I don't know. I've hardly seen any Alex Jones stuff. I'm aware of what happened, um, but to be able to just scroll through your feed and not having to, you know, duck and dive past his videos every 2 seconds, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, but then if you agree with censorship, you might as well
No, I don't
turn
agree
your
with it.
computer off.
I don't agree with it, but most people that I speak to who've listened to Alex Jones for quite a while no longer have him subscribed. So I've you know, subscribed to any of his channels or work because of the fact that,
Oh, that's
you know,
choice. That's
he
choice.
for one, he put too much stuff out in a day. It was too much. Two, by the time he
Oh
started
yeah.
selling his products, it just got a bit hard to listen to.
I'll tell you what, guys. Listen, I'm going to go and get myself some food because I'm feeling a bit peckish. If you two want to carry on and have a good natter, I'll be back with you in about 10 minutes or something. Yeah.
Can't
So,
wait, it's that belly.
hey, I know it's hunger
You
pain.
can't wait, that belly.
I know. I think I've got tapeworm stuff, and
Well, we
you
got
have.
joust. Let's see if we got joust to whiz. Go on then, Jeff. Go and have your meal or whatever
Oh,
it is.
thanks, guys. I'll be back with you shortly anyway.
Have we got joust to whiz? Have you got a working mic yet? I don't think he has.
No, I don't think he has. Yes,
Did you
PJ,
watch?
look, that's choice.
Did you
That's
watch?
choice.
Yeah. Did you watch Mark Dycer's video covering it?
I watched some of it. I haven't looked too much into it because it is what it is. He's been censored, whether people, you can't deny that. And, he's, if people go, well, I'm glad he's been censored, well, careful what you wish for. That's all I can say. It's an old saying and it's a true one.
No, but he has had his run.
Yeah, but
That's
you
it long
can't.
enough
Yeah,
now.
yeah. But what I'm saying is, PJ, is it
For all,
doesn't
for
matter
all we
whether he.
know, for all we know, it could be the fact that he's that big now where he doesn't even need these platforms. He can set himself up. So maybe YouTube and Google and Facebook and all them are actually doing him a favour by banning him from their platform. So everybody has to use his. And with this app that he's got, that seems to be doing the trick. So maybe it all works in Alex Jones's favour deliberately because
Oh yeah, definitely.
he's too much. He's taking too much weight up on their servers. He can basically run his own thing now. He don't need any other platform. So
Yes, that's
all
right.
I see is them helping him channel people directly to his app, which is pretty good. I'd love that. I'd love for Facebook and YouTube to do that for us. Just ban us from all your platforms, but while you're there, just point everybody to direction where they need to be.
Well,
Works
one by
beautiful,
one.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
Anyway.
one by one. Yeah, but one by one, PJ. The people I used to tune into regular on YouTube are now on DTube or DLive. So I don't go spending time on YouTube much. And as for Facebook, well, I mean, it's because there's still people there that won't come over, and I keep badgering them to leave because you know I don't think it's just a coincidence that last week or the week before Mark Zuckerberg's company lost 25% of its shares. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that is literally with people not bothering anymore on Facebook. I think
That's
is a
their own
fair enough.
fault. That's their own fault.
Yeah,
They should have bloody looked
yeah.
after people's data then, shouldn't they?
Well, I think it's too late now anyway. I think it's a case of bolting the door, the horse is the horse is bolted, closing the stable door, and the horse is bolted, sort of thing. But um, I think more. I think the future to the internet is that people will um, eventually have enough apps um, on all sorts of things that are coming out on cryptocurrency where you can build. I mean, mines, you can build your own social platform, your own social media. So I think that's where it's going, open source. I think Windows will go once people can be bothered enough to learn how to use some other system apart from Windows and actually learn a bit. So I
I
think
don't
that's.
know. I find that rather, not to be the case. I can't see Windows going anywhere anytime soon.
I
And
think eventually it will do.
not everybody's going to use different operating systems like Linux or whatever. That's not straightforward.
Yeah, but we've still got the people who have had everything done for them.
And Facebook,
Even your
you
generation.
still can't underestimate
In,
Facebook, despite the 20% drop in shares and what happened with Cambridge Analytica. Still don't underestimate them because they've got a massive hold on people still. We both know it's hard to get people off Facebook. So when you talk about Minds and Alex Jones's new bloody app, it's still, you know, the reality is people are still stuck on Facebook.
Well, do you know what? I actually was on Steamit earlier on, and I was looking through some posts, and one post was well, somebody's blog was about how some people come on Steamit and they say, well, once you put a post up, it goes on the blockchain, and you can never erase it. So it can Google or whatever can access it, right? And they were most upset that they couldn't delete posts because I might say something I regret later on down the line, and they might pull me up on it, and I might get done for it. Well, what the hell are you doing on blockchain in the first place? And these are people who don't want to be self-responsible. Them generations will die off. Mine will go first, and then yours will go, and then the whole new generation will be hopefully much more self-responsible for themselves because they'll have to be, because the system won't allow you to get away with letting the system basically look after you.
It's like
In
that. It's
that
like
sense,
that. The fourth turning, if you recall that.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But that's all in the future. I won't see it. Maybe you won't see it, Peter. I don't know, but I think you might see the more beginnings of it than me, my generation, not most undoubtedly. But that's why I say it. You're not going to get a fix in the next 50, 100 years. You're not going to get some type of fairness in the world's countries and trades and it's still too early, and the internet's really, really embryonic, I think, compared to what it's going to be in 100 years. There we are.
Mm.
That's what I think. I mean, I just can't see people giving up things.
No, no, I'm more try to be more positive. I think the best opportunity and chance we've ever had is now. Whether you like, hey, Joustar.
Right.
Yeah, whether you like blockchain or not, it's a new thing and it's got a lot to offer people that they've never really had a chance to do before.
Of course, absolutely, and I agree. And I think there is a chance for people to start to make the difference, and they are. And they are. I mean, you, me, other people. I think there's over 1 million people. Well, 1 million accounts on Steam, which is quite a lot, really, in the time it's been going.
Yeah.
And then you've got this Minds that goes live on Monday, I think it is. I think it goes live with its cryptocurrency, it's Ethereum, E20 or something. I don't know much about it. I admit I know a bit about it, but I'm not that technophobe in that stuff. But you're gonna get there's a great opportunity to advance these platforms. It might not be blockchain, it might be something else in 20 years' time. It might be another platform or a system that some type of something like I don't know Ashgraph type thing where it's a consensus thing which is much more accurate and immutable, and I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? So maybe these things will come along eventually. I think they will. It's just going to take a lot bit of time. Anyway, Jouster, good evening. You was there.
I'm back, folks.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Yeah, how you doing? All right.
Yeah, cool.
Anything to add? Have you been listening?
I've been listening on and off. I haven't. You've been jumping from subject to subject, haven't you?
We do that.
What you're saying half the time.
It's the curse of as I would say, as Mr. Peterson puts it, lateral thinking.
Mm.
Where you're everywhere, connecting things all over the place, and it's digression is difficult, but there we are. So you can't speak while you're eating, Jeff. It's not very polite.
Give me the definition of what a public servant is supposed to be, by the way.
I don't think they exist.
No. So I was looking
No.
into planning permission legislation today and the council procedure. Right. Trying to find an answer to a question. So I followed their online questionnaire and whatever, question of elimination. And I get to the end of it after reading for half an hour. And after determining that the preliminary inquiry might cost me £96, it says we can't give a yes or no answer, and that's determined by a 15-minute appointment. The 15-minute appointment is free, but down the end of the line, the decision is made after you pay a fee. Yeah. So I pay £96, and they turn around and say no, thanks a lot. And my definition of a public servant is you give me the information for free. Son of a bitch.
It's just an illusion. It's an illusion, Mr. Wordsworth. An illusion.
I know that, but it's even worse when going online in-depth technical with planning committees and everything. Some people will employ a planning consultant, and that could be up to £1,400. On a big project, on a sizable project, and that's just inquiries.
You could still get a no vote after that.
Exactly, it's down to the committee.
That's terrible. What an awful system.
I mean, I don't know whether PJ's familiar with this. What I was trying to do was inquire about if I bought a piece of arable or pasture land, which is two classifications in its own. You get grade 1, 2, 3 arable, like farmland, changing its usage to light commercial, rather than purchasing or renting light commercial.
Well, the old way of doing that is having some livestock on it, isn't it?
Yes, that's it. Some people did say that. Yeah, but see, then you can't. I know you can stick some goats on it to keep the grass down. But that's not what I want it for, Stav. I want large storage outside area for bugger all money. You know what I mean? I don't want to be paying a couple of thousand. Well, it's going to be more than be like 4,000 quid, 5,000 quid a year rent. I can't get that size facility or property.
So how many people actually decide on this council board or whatever whether you can use that land for whatever purpose? How many people?
Well, I didn't go into in depth in the committee. God, that's just that's miles of reading and how they make the determinations, and that's 100 years of legislation, Jeff.
You probably have to slip them a bribe, to get what you want, to get the result you want, anyway.
They don't call them the brown envelope brigade for nothing,
Yeah, you know it.
That's a joke, but
Any true word is spoken in jest, Stav. Any true word is spoken in jest.
Yeah, I can't. I'll be on. I can talk tomorrow night, or I'm still at a friend's house, sort of thing. I'll go back.
What do you eventually want to do with the land, Jeff?
I want it as storage. I want it as building material storage, so I can buy in bulk. Big 20-ton bulk loads.
Right.
I saved myself nearly 500% cost then, if I actually bring the material down from Yorkshire or something like that.
Well, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I know if you stay there, it used to be 7 years without being thrown off, basically.
Yeah,
you can do that because the Romany lads done that and they ended up with scrapyards.
Yeah, there's a 4 and a 10-year rule, but it's like I've explained to Jeff about this. It's with that sort of change of habitation class, you've got to find a property with a shed on it, and then sneakily change the interior so it's habitable, but without getting caught or someone making an official complaint. Yeah, so then you have a certificate of lawfulness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, you live there. If it's even better if it's witnessed by someone. Let's say you get the address changed to a postal address. It doesn't even have to have a postcode. It can have, as long as you give the post office directions, the postman has a duty to find it. Yeah. Now, if he delivers, then you've got a crown stamp on it as a crown witness or corporation, call themselves crown, whatever. Delivering mail for 10 years, then you get a certificate of lawfulness, as long as there's no objections from your neighbours. So it's a fine balance.
Well, you may different areas, isn't it, as well? I think you'll find it different areas of wherever the land is. I mean, if you take Cornwall, for instance, we know all about Cornwall, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Well, then you know, it's not under the same land registry laws, is it? No, it can't be, if you think about it. Who knows? I don't know. If it's all legislation, they change it. Don't forget, Joust. I mean, when I say about the Traveller Romany lads, when they years ago used to stay there for 7 years, and then they turned the land into scrapyards and holding places and all sorts of things. But I don't know whether they've changed legislation since those days. I'm talking a little while ago now, so, and I don't know. So you're more clued up to me than that, but just wondered, like, you know. And he's gone again. Anyway, we digressed, didn't we? Where were you, Jeff? Or PJ?
We're not finishing, are we? I'd still love to hear staff doing the immigration song because that's brilliant. Go on, staff, give us a tune.
No, we'll save it for an outro. I just realised that little announcement had been mic muted on OBS. So if anybody's listening in, links at top corner of your screen, left hand side. I'll get you in the show. Got probably another just under an hour left.
Of course, come in and talk about if you're across the pond, Donald Trump, deep state, whatever you want. We're on the other side of the pond. We, if you want to know anything about Brexit or anything like that, Jeff's the expert in that department, I would say, PJ, rather than me. But open mic means open mic, so yeah, come in and say a few things about anything, really. Well, before Joust to come in, I can't remember what we was talking about. Oh, Alex Jones, wasn't it? Was it Alex Jones? Well, whichever. At the end of the day, well, I think it's basically if you want freedom of if you want freedom of speech. If you want freedom of speech to continue, you're going to have to find other platforms. You're going to have to get off these.
We've been saying that. We've been saying that for years. We've been trying to keep ahead and prepare people and offer them a platform that's free to use, that's up to date, what you can get on it, and it works. Do you know what I mean? And so far, we just get people who they must surely want to come on and just see what we've got to offer. But
Chris is back.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm back.
Chris, you're back.
Sorry, guys, my back, you ready?
Still in the bloody bath.
Man, I do all my best thinking in the bath. I'm a Scorpio, which is a water sign. It's the only time I get to think. How do I turn this bloody off? Hang on, I want to turn the camera off.
Yeah, we don't want to see. We don't want to see
Watching
that,
you
Chrissy.
naked, they'll accuse me of dogging.
Yeah, Chrissy, stop playing with your bloody rubber duck, mate.
I have several. I'm more than one rubber duck man. I have several.
Oh,
What's going on?
Several ducks. Well, we were just wrapping up. We were just wrapping up about freedom of speech and what's happening on the platforms like Facebook, Google, YouTube, and all the rest. And if you want to continue with some sort of freedom of speech, I think you've got to find alternative platforms and go from there, Chrissy.
Yeah, I'll go along with that, guys. We've always known that we're going to get shut down sometime. So, you know, it's get as much out there as you see it as possible. If you're not singing the, you know, the company line that the government are doing, obviously they're not liking you.
Yep, that's it. So we gotta get off of it, and which we are on tonight, which isn't nothing to do with them, I hope. But we
quote as well, Stab, if that's all right.
You like what?
I'd like to do a quote, if I may.
Yeah, go on then.
Still shoveling food in the gob, so excuse me while I'm doing that. But
Cool.
there's a famous quote. Well, maybe not so famous, by a bloke called Jordan Peterson. And look him up on Google because he's a brilliant psychologist.
Jordan Peterson is brilliant.
He is really good. A clever bloke, very, very clever bloke. Anyway, he said, without free speech, there can be no true thought. So think about that, folks. Without free speech, there can be no true thought. So it's because we talk to each other and interact and exchange ideas. You know, it's like me and Christy, for example. If we're debating, he might say something that I disagree with. I might say something that he disagrees with. But by interacting and exchanging ideas, I might move towards Chris's mindset, or Chrissy might move towards my mindset.
Yeah.
Given new information and, you know, or whatever. And this is the way we learn. This is the way we progress. This is the way we change and think about things. And so I think, folks, what we got to do is we got to protect freedom of speech no matter what. Because without that, we're truly lost. We've lost everything, I believe.
Very few people agree on everything. And that's what makes us fantastic, because we've all got different views on different subjects, and coming together and bringing them together will actually enhance our thinking skills, because there might be sections of what you're being told that you're not aware of, and someone else's different thought plane might add to your experience. So you've always got to remember that just because you don't agree on everything, it doesn't make you an enemy.
Exactly, Chrissy. And it's like the old saying goes, we might differ on opinion, we might not see eye to eye on things, but I will defend your right to say it to the death. You know, if I disagree with you, I will defend your right to say it to the death. And that's so important.
Yeah, because talking about stuff usually sorts it out rather than exuberates it. So,
Indeed.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that's the way forward. Talking as adults, no need to get take offence to things or whatever. And you know, when you're debating with people, folks, don't let the ego. You've got to keep your ego down, because it's not about being right. It's not about being right. It's about finding solutions between you. It's not about, you know,
it's not about winning.
Eh?
Too many people are so determined to win an argument, they don't realise that by not taking another person's understanding of it, they've actually lost.
Exactly. It's not always about winning points, scoring brownie points, and having the upper hand, is it? It's about coming to mutual agreements and things like that, and compromise. Sometimes you've got to compromise, but some things you can't compromise on. Sometimes it is a bit about, what's right and what's wrong. It sort of depends on the thing in question, really. But I think sometimes you've got to admit when you're in the wrong. That's what makes a strong person is admitting when they're in the wrong. I think because a lot of people don't like to do. They'll stick to their standpoint no matter what, and they won't give way or admit that they're wrong. I don't know everything. I mean, I'll quite openly admit I don't know everything. I don't know anybody who does know everything. But the thing is, we only learn by talking. So, and researching and things like that.
It's understanding more than sort of winning. If you can understand how someone thinks, you're a lot more capable of helping them along the road. So, understanding where they come from. And the problem I find is I've got a lot of people.
You got a lot of what, Chrissy? Oh no, he's gone again.
He's dropped his phone in bath.
He dropped his rubber ducky. Oh, poor Chrissy. Oh dear. Anyway, I think
I think that wraps it up on the freedom of speech side of things that Alex shows.
Yeah, I think that more or less covers it. But people need to realise how important it is what we're fighting for. It's like somebody said to me the other day, Stav. They said, if you could choose one freedom to keep and you lose the other ones, they said you've got freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and freedom of expression. And they said, which one would you keep out of all of them? I said, freedom of speech. He said, why is that? I said, because if you've lost the other two, you can get them back with freedom of speech. But if you've lost freedom of speech, you can't get any of them back. Do you know what I mean? So that's my idea on that.
Well, yes, you gotta be able to. Well, I don't know if you can hear me. I think I've got a bit behind nagging at the moment with this system. But yes, if you haven't got freedom of speech, you haven't got nothing, have you? So, as that.
Yeah. You've got to stand up against these bloody censorships and all these stupid laws and things, and they're so important. This is the war at the moment. When you've lost freedom of speech, you've entered the world of tyranny. In fact, I think we were already in a tyranny because what's happened is, by and large, I would say we've lost equality before the law, and that is so important. And I've been saying this for a while now to different people, but I believe two things are important, particularly when it comes to the law: equality before the law, so that there's not, all these different, one thing applies to one person and something else applies to another group and that. And the other thing is, what was the other thing I was going to say? Forgotten now. Oh, mental block. Equality before the law and basically the rule of law, which is common law, whatever you want to call it.
The only equality we're all going to get is inequality for all. Anybody seen that documentary? Inequality for all.
Sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Got any want to add to that, Chrissy? I mean, I think equality is important. What else is important with regards to the law? Because we've lost equality. Morality. That's it. That's the one. That's the other one I wanted to say. Thank you, Chrissy. You're a life.
No worries.
That mental block. And that was the two things I was going to say. One, law based on morality instead of all of those bullshit stuff. And two, equality before the law, which means that one law applies to absolutely everybody. And that is so important. We need to get back to that. We do.
Morals trump everything. Morals trump everything.
Absolutely. Spot on, Chris. Thank you for that. You're a lifesaver, mate.
No worries, mate. No worries. There's quite an interesting one that I do with the police when I meet up with them. And I always ask them, I give them 3 words, and those words are authority, moral, and of power. And I always ask them to place what one is the most important. Is power, authority, or moral? What one's more important? And they usually get it right, and they say moral, which we all know morals are more important than power and authority.
Yeah.
And then and the one I usually say to them, I have the power to take a shit on your cop car. I have the power to do that. Physically, I'm strong enough to climb up there. Currently, I need a shit, and there's not much you could do if I really wanted to stop me from taking a turd on top of your car. And they always laugh to himself, but that's the hook, because now they're interested because they want to know where that's going. And then what I say to them is, if I go to a magistrate's court and talk the magistrates into granting me the authority to do that, I have the power. I now have the authority, but if a young child or a lady happens to be walking past when I'm just about to send a log down the river on the cop car, what happens all of a sudden is my power and my authority are trumped by the moral. It would not be moral for me to do what I have the power to do and what I have the authority to do. Therefore, whenever the cops get sent out to anything, and I say this to the coppers, I say, whenever you get sent out to something, you might have the power to do it, you might have the authority to do it, but morally, you've got to ask yourself, is it the correct thing to do? So always ask yourself, morally, is this correct? And if it's not, you have the moral responsibility to not do it, and a superiority order cannot give you anything to trump a moral. And I'm yet to find a copper that knows what I'm talking about when I ask them, do they know what happened at Nuremberg? They all turn around and they go, and they'll try and bluff it that they know what Nuremberg was. And the thing is, guys, I mean, hopefully you folks in here, is there anyone here, and I'm not here to trip anyone up, is there anyone here that doesn't know what happened at Nuremberg?
It was the trials.
The most important trials that have ever taken place in history. The Nuremberg trials of the Nazi war criminals. And what they all done was they all basically said they relied on a defence that was called the superiority defence, which is now known because of Nuremberg as the Nuremberg defence. And they all said we were only following orders. Every one of them, apart from one that topped himself, got hung. That trial set a legal precedent, the most important legal precedent ever, that basically says that everyone is responsible for their own actions.
But I tell you what, I will say one thing to that, Chrissy.
Go on, bro.
And that is oh, bloody hell, what was I going to say? Oh, my mind's not working tonight. I swear to God, I've got too much 12 points in my brain, destroying my brain and draining me. And
Have a rethink for a minute, Jeff. Chris, welcome back.
Go through the alphabet, it'll make you think better.
What was this? Talk us through this coffee with cops recently, what you had this. Because I watched your video, Chris, and when you're on, you could explain it to us. What actually happened then? What rattled the cage?
Right. I was literally a couple of 100 yards away from where they was doing a coffee with cops thing, and it was a complete coincidence. But that weekend, I'd been told by someone that I would put on the far right. They told me that the police did not want to be accused of being racist. They was more scared of being accused of racist than they were of bringing child abusers to justice. Now, as I'm not. I like to think that I'm a little bit brave, and I know that I'm a little bit braver than most, but I struggle to see how anyone that is in the police force anyone that is in a position of power cannot have the morals that I have. And the simple fact of the matter is, I was told that police had made the excuse that the reason that they did not investigate child abuse was because they feared being called racist. That's really hard for me to accept.
I was just what it was I was going to say, Chrissy. Can I get it out?
Yeah.
Before
yeah, of course you can.
I'm sorry, mate. It's just that I have to get it out while it's fresh in my mind because my brain.
Do it.
I was just going to say, when you've got a war, and I'm not saying this to justify what happened in Germany or anything like that. What I'm saying is, when you've got any war, no matter where it is, the first thing to go is morals. That's the very first thing to go, and I'll tell you why. Because they draft people. First of all, they draft them in. All right, they get national draft. They get drafted into the army, and then they take the Queen shilling or whatever it is, or whoever's shilling, depending on what country they are, and they're obligated to follow rules. It's strict regiment, and then the guy at the top says, "Do this. If you don't, I'll put a bullet in the back of your head." Sunshine, because this is what they do. They did this. Stalin did this in the Soviet Union, where they had their last push to defend against Adolf and the Germans, and they said, right, of special order, blah blah blah, just been written into law. You can go forward, but you don't take one step backwards. And they had blocking units, what they call blocking units. And what Stalin did was, if anybody stepped backwards, took one step backwards, they called that a retreat, and they would be shot in the back of the head by their own people. Yeah.
It's what the Spartans done. The Spartans done it way back, in the BC eras. The Spartans had a no retreat, no surrender rule.
That's right. Well, here's the thing. Even the Geneva Convention holds a lot of power in war, right? But even that gets thrown out with the baby in the bathwater when it comes to war. Because there's an old saying, Chrissy, and a lot of people, you don't hear it a lot nowadays, but there's an old saying, there's all's fair in love and war. That means if you're married and your wife gets a better offer and she sees a bloke down the road and she fancies a bit, she's off with him and you're out the door, mate. You know what I mean? And the other thing is obviously war. So all's fair in love and war in anything, and in which case anything goes. And it literally does, because you usually find in wars you get a mixture of brutality, rapes, and all sorts. The Soviets were known for massive amounts of rape crimes and things like that. They seem to encourage it, the leaders. Take that. Their attitude was, you go to war and you fight for us, and you grab what booty you like as your own. In other words, the woman, or if it's a bit of gold or a masterpiece painting or whatever, you grab it as your looty, mate. It's yours. You help yourself. Don't worry about it. That was their attitude.
Of the mess.
Sorry, say that again, Chris.
Take advantage of the mess.
Exactly. That was their attitudes, and that was the sort of thing they passed on to the people below them. So, everything, all reason, logic, morals, all that goes straight out the window. It's sad to say, but it is true. It's the reality of war, I'm afraid. The Geneva Convention, all that, it doesn't mean a dicky bird. When
the cruelty of war.
The what, sorry?
The cruelty of war.
Yeah, the absolute cruelty and brutality of it. That's the sort of thing they instilled into people. And they turn a blind eye to it, even though they knew it was wrong. The people that would quite often turn a blind eye to it, and they'd say, well, he's on our side, he's one of ours, let him do what he bloody wants. If he wants to go and rape that woman, if he wants to go and do this and do that, well, he's on our side, so what the hell? That was the attitude. Bloody terrible as it may be, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. That's the sad reality. So they won't sort of stand up and be culpable. And of course, with the police and things like that, well, they got mouths to feed and they got jobs. If they don't follow the orders from the top brass, they get booted out of the force, and then all of a sudden their pension's gone, and all this sort of stuff. And they've lost putting the food on the table for the family. This is the tragic thing about authorities, hierarchy, and all that sort of stuff.
Can I just say though, what price your conscience?
Exactly. Well, that would be the nice thing if people would stand by their conscience rather than. But when you're in that predicament at the time, you know, you got a gun. If you got a gun pointing at the back of the head, is you or them, innit?
Yeah. But saying that though, I can't remember whose quote it was. There was a really fantastic quote. I'll have to look it up again. It was something similar to die today or what price you're hell forever. Something like that. And I think it was a Russian general that said it.
Yeah.
And what they were basically saying was, you know, if you didn't follow a superiority order, you know, the Nuremberg defense of I was only doing my job, you might kill a few people, but you'll suffer hell for the rest of your days. You know, your conscience should put you through that. And going back to what I was saying before I lost my phone battery, that guy, Johann Reichardt, he killed over 3,000 Germans, mostly by guillotine. He actually invented his own guillotine that would kill people in 4 seconds. People could be brought out to him and be dead in 4 seconds. Even to this day, it is the most efficient form of execution ever made. And that guy, he went to bed every night. He slept every night. It probably helped him that I think he was the 8th generation of executioners from his family and stuff like that. And the thing is, guys, we don't get told of, this sort of stuff. I mean, it was only a few weeks ago that I ever heard about this guy. Mm-hmm. We thought the Jewish folks had a hard time, and a lot of them got killed, and it was a very bad thing. But if you knew you was going to be executed, what way would you want to go? Would you want to walk into a gas chamber and go to sleep and not wake up again, or would you want to be brought out to a guillotine, laid on a slab, and your head go? What would you do? I mean, he was executing children. Anyone that was considered an enemy of the Nazi Party was basically brutally executed on a guillotine that was the most efficient way of killing a human being ever devised. And it just goes to show that what absolute horrors people are capable of.
Well, I've got
war is the worst of us. It really is the worst of us. You know, it's the genocides, the executions, the bombings, and they're indiscriminate. And the innocents that get killed by them, and that is what we all need to stand up against. And the trouble is, there's not enough. There's too many apathetic moderates out there, and there's too many war-crying extremists out there. And, you know, one extremist making a lot of noise, shouting, kill them all, it has got more volume than 100 moderates that are muttering, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And we need to get everyone more involved with our society and more involved with the morality of it all.
I've got my own take on the Germans. Conflict with yours a little bit, Chrissy. I know they were angels in the Nazi Party and everything. I don't dispute that. The war is horrific on all sides. So there's no angel in war, whichever side you're on. But I don't believe the narrative of the Holocaust, quite frankly, because I've seen too much stuff that seems to conflict with the actual Holocaust, not just the figures, but the entire thing to do with the Holocaust. So I've got my reservations about that. And what first sort of put me into researching about the Holocaust was when I found out that they're still putting little old ladies in prisons for even talking about it. Now, this is in Germany, modern day Germany, present day Germany, where it's pretty a country like most countries in Europe. They're not even allowed to mention the word Holocaust in Germany. And obviously, even here now, if you mention it or anything, you get labeled an anti-Semite straight away. Which to me, I don't deal with these labels like racist, anti-Semite, Islamophobia. And I think people need free and open debate. I've always believed in free and open dialogue and debate, and I think it's the way forward. But to me, it seems like they've got something to hide. And I looked into all this stuff to do with the Holocaust, the so-called alleged gas chambers, which, in my opinion, were work camps. Yeah. And to do with the cremations, apparently they were put in these cremation ovens and things. What do they call them? Funeral part? Not what do they call them? The cremation. Yeah, the cremation oven.
Fires. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way. If you worked out how long it took to burn a single body in a single
Definitely.
there's no way they could have possibly disposed.
It was ridiculous. Yeah.
I
do believe there was a Holocaust, but I don't believe it was quite the numbers they put up. And as I keep saying, I think the Zionists are using it to continually guilt trip everyone.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of Jewish people died. I don't believe the original figure. But when you consider how many Germans died on a guillotine by one man, for instance, you've just got to look at it in perspective. People die more. I mean, I'll put the video up on my timeline probably tomorrow now. But the amount of Russians that died, I think more Russians died than all the other Allied forces put together, and the Polish as well.
I think
we had it hard.
A lot of those were by Stalin himself. In fact, a lot of Russians actually welcomed the Germans in to the Soviet because of Stalin being the sort of dictator and keeping them in poverty and putting them in gulags and things like that. He was pretty horrific, from what I gather, Stalin. But
there was a difference between Stalin, Hitler, and Churchill, mate. They were all monsters.
Well, yeah, this is this is all a topic for debate, definitely, and a lot of people will say different things, and I think it's good for people to debate it. I think that people should be debating stuff, and even the Americans weren't all sweet and innocent, because you had Eisenhower and the Eisenhower death camps as well. So it's pretty bad stuff.
Sorry to cut across you. Here's one for you, gents. Did you know? And if you Google this, because obviously I'm on a mobile phone, so you might be able to get this up on Google if you can, gentlemen. But just tap into Google Henry Ford's 75th birthday. If you Google that, and if anyone can stick that up, it'd be nice. You'll see a photograph of Henry Ford shaking the hands of Nazi Party members who awarded him, I think it was called the Order of the Eagle, which is the highest award the German Nazi Party could grant a foreign national. That was to Henry Ford, because he supplied all the engines in the German war machine. If it weren't for Henry Ford giving them the engines, they wouldn't have been able to go anywhere. And there's also another guy, and I can't remember his name, but he was he was something big at Royal Dutch Shell, at the Shell Oil in Holland or something like that. And he was a guy that gave the Luftwaffe all their fuel. And without that guy, if we'd have assassinated Henry Ford and the guy from Shell Oil, the Luftwaffe wouldn't have been able to take off, and the Nazi war machine wouldn't have been able to roll anywhere. And that is one of the reasons why the Americans didn't come into the Second World War quite so early, because they was making a mint out of it. Yeah. And Henry Ford, on his 75th birthday, have a look, guys. You know, it's all there. It's all part of history. But they don't teach us that. They don't teach us that, you know, the banks make money from both sides in every war.
That's absolutely right, Chris.
Yeah, there was Bush, George Bush Senior's father as well was involved with that. I think you'll find, and also Henry Ford also had machinery plant on the Bolshevik side, on the Russian side too. So check that out.
Yeah. Did you know that George Bush was the pivotal figure in the Kennedy assassination? If you have a look at the Kennedy assassination, you know, if you tap into Google JFK and George Bush Senior, you'll see all the links that George Bush Senior had to the Kennedy assassination.
Chrissy?
Yeah, mate.
That photograph was 1938.
I've got that photograph up on screen now for viewers to see. Is it the one in his? Well, it's black and white, so I won't able to
black and white.
But he's in the middle. He's in the middle between two guys, and one guy is like pinning something on his waistcoat. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't see it, guys, but
you won't be able to, but viewers can.
Well,
it's Henry Ford receiving the Order of the Eagle, I believe.
Can I just
the German Eagle. Yeah.
Can I just say, I knew what Stav was saying was right when he said about the George Bush Senior's dad, whatever, because he got done for trading with the Enemy Act. He actually got done for it, and that was to do with Hitler or something, or the Germans. He was actually trading with the Germans, and he got in big time trouble for that, apparently.
Yeah, I remember something about that one. The one that I always remember, though, is that the JFK assassination, George Bush Senior, the former American president, he was implicit in that. It was quite a pivotal role. I can't remember exactly what he'd done. I've got far too much information going in my brain, but it was something like that he was the liaison between the political wings and the corporations and the FBI or CIA. You there, guys?
Is Stav still there? Oh, he's back. Welcome back, Stav. You there, mate?
Yeah. Well, Chrissy's there. Hello. Who
No,
else is in?
I think Stav is Stav there, or is he gone?
I'm back now. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, got that.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, this chat room's really closed up tonight for me.
Just confirming what you were saying about George Bush Senior's dad, because he got done for trading with the Enemy Act, because he was dealing with the Germans, wasn't he, during World War II?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. We all know about the American Jewry and the Bolsheviks and all the rest of it. It's like Chrissy says, they finance both sides, so they operate.
Yeah. Well, I've got a bit of an echo coming in with you, Stav. Whether that's you or what? Is it stopped? Oh, it's close.
Oh, sorry.
I'll refresh as well, just in case.
Well, we've got you back now, yeah.
Don't know if that's any better, mate.
Well, that's the old saying, isn't it? You know, you don't have to like somebody to do business with them.
That's very true, isn't it? And he was also, was it David Lloyd George that was very fond of Hitler as well?
What, Chrissy?
Queen was Saxe Coburn Gotha, wasn't she?
Who was?
Family was Saxe Coburn Gotha.
That's right. Yeah. We got a German royal family. That's right, mate. And they only changed it to Windsor because of the Second World War to make themselves seem a little bit more popular with the British people because of what was going on in Germany. You know.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is we're told that the First World War was started because of the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. It really was started because the Germans were going to start a railway between Berlin and Baghdad. And at the time, the Suez Canal was British controlled and was the only way of taking the riches from the Middle East and bringing them to Europe. So when the British learned, that Berlin was going to have a Berlin to Baghdad railway, they thought, you know what, we can't have that. And that's why the First World War was started. So yet again, poor men died in rich men's wars.
Yeah, that's always the way, isn't it? I'm afraid, This is why, I mean, if it comes to like anybody joining the army, my attitude would be, if you can be a conscientious objector, be one. Even if you got to go to jail for it, because I think all you're doing, you're not fighting for freedom. You're just fighting to make a banker richer somewhere along the line. That's the only people who benefit from war. Nations don't benefit from war. Only the banks do. The banks are the
goon squad. It's a goon squad now.
Indeed. If I had to go to prison, rather than fight one of their wars for them, I'd go to prison. Quite frankly, I'd be a conscientious objector, full on. Because I'm not going to fight any of their battles. Sodom. That's my attitude. Don't want to get involved with it.
Yeah.
My old man did say during the war, conscience, what was they called them, conscientious objection.
Yeah.
It wasn't very, very pleasant life to live as a conscientious objector. There we are.
Well, they were frowned upon big
So
time.
again, you've got the it's the gun at the head. You said it, Jeff. You had the Bolsheviks. You can't take a step backwards. So, it's like everything really.
Absolutely, but I mean, it's like
soldier. They all fight for the powers that be. There's plenty. If you Google song "Soldier of Fortune," you'll see about half a dozen different artists that have done a song about the Soldier of Fortune.
Oh, right. What is a Soldier of Fortune, Stab? Is that like a mercenary?
One particular phrase in one song was, "A soldier of fortune come home from war, and he wondered what he was fighting for." You got universal soldier, soldier of fortune. It's all the same story.
Ah.
My understanding of Soldier of Fortune was a soldier that lived to spend his wages.
Oh, right.
Fortune as in the money that you received, and fortune as in that you were fortunate enough to live.
Ah, right. Now, if I didn't know better, I would have guessed that it would have meant something like a mercenary.
Yeah.
Because of the word fortune in it, But I mean, I'm probably barking up the wrong tree here, but I think it's probably just everyday soldiers or whatever, working for their pay or something. But I've no idea, to be honest. But there you go. Interesting stuff, though.
Guys, I've got 5 minutes. Did anyone want to know anything about the Coffee with Cops?
The what? Sorry?
My Coffee with Cops video. It was mentioned earlier.
Your coffee with a cop?
Yeah.
You had a mug of coffee. You had a mug of coffee with a cop in a cafe?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't trust them enough to not spit in it.
None of them were paid coppers, though, were they? Did they not all?
No.
Yeah, I thought so. So what happened
Yeah,
then?
no.
What got them a bit,
What's it?
Yeah, sadly, I don't get to choose who I ask the questions to. They make the event, and I just turn up at the event. And I just happen to be literally a few hundred yards away from where one was going on. I got the Facebook notification, and I just happened to be doing a rubbish run that was a few hundred yards away from where they was doing their coffee with the public, coffee with cops thing. And I've been asked an interesting question that weekend. I've been told by a right winger that a lot of police at Rotherham had used the excuse that they was worried to investigate child abuse for fear of being accused of being a racist. And that just don't stack up to me. That just is complete bollocks. To be honest, sorry to swear, guys, but I struggle to believe that someone that is in a policeman's job would be bothered by a false accusation of racism
Obviously.
when
What happened, Chrissy?
children are being abused.
What happened, Chrissy, when one of them said, "Oh, if you want to put your complaint in, then you have to turn your camera off," and you did. Now, what happened after? What happened after that?
Oh, because I thought, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. So what's happened is they took the complaint, they ripped down my details. I've got it all recorded on a voice recorder. I'm not going to put it out yet, obviously, because I want to wait to see what they've said. But a couple of days later, I've got a phone call from them, and they've asked me, can I come to a police station that's about sort of 15 miles away, and I had half an hour to get there. And I basically said to them, no, because I've got to go to work soon. So it's going to have to be another time, and I'd like it to be a closer station. To which they've said to me, okay, we'll give you a ring back, and I'm yet to receive that call. So it's all up in the air right now. And I'll be honest with you, I'm wondering whether or not I'm going to pursue it, because I'm thinking, even though the thing that's making me want to pursue it is that if it was the other way round, they would have got. I'd be on remand now. If I'd have tried to grab a copper's phone or video and threatened to grab it, they would have arrested me and charged me with attempted robbery. The fact that they done it, it makes it all right. You know, their magic uniforms mean that they don't have to respect the law. It was blatantly obvious what happened. And what annoyed me more than anything else was the silly PCSO trying to say she didn't see it.
That annoyed me, but what annoys me even more than that is the fact that these people weren't even paid. They weren't even in a weight of a pension. Yet they were prepared. They were prepared to do that on a day when they're supposed to be representing, the force.
Yeah. Well, see, if there's quite a few things I could have said to him to make him look silly, but my intention that day was to ask him that question, and I was really hoping that they would turn around and go, no bribe, no blackmail, no bullying would stop me from investigating suspected child abuse, because that is ultimately what they should be saying. They should not be able to be blackmailed, bullied, or bribed into not investigating something as serious as child abuse. And it's so simple. The lady the next day because there was another one the next day that I went to, and this lady had obviously been told about what happened the previous day because it was only in the next town to me. And she was fully aware of the question. I asked her the question. She gave the perfect answer, which was, I put the investigation first. I'm not a racist. And that's the simple crux of it. If we've got coppers out there that are more worried about being accused falsely of being a racist than of stopping child abusers, what hope have we got? We've got none. And it's not a trick question. It's not a question that I was looking to trip them up on. It was just so I can't believe that they have to try and make it into such a farce. I actually didn't think that I'd get that, and the reason I started filming the guy was because he squared up to me. The other thing is, guys, I was sitting with them for 20 minutes or half an hour, and I had a burger and a fucking ice lolly. So, and I was chatting with them, and we was getting on absolutely fine, as you probably heard in the video. And I asked them if they'd mind me recording them, and they all said no. And I thought, you know what? I'll respect that. If I didn't want to be recorded, I'd be pissed off if someone did, even though they can. So I thought, you know what? I'll just record myself asking them the question. But they still got shitty. And there was absolutely no reason for it. From something that could have been a really good thing for Essex Police, because the whole idea of me filming them sort of situations is that people hopefully will understand that behind the uniform there's a person, and that by making what we might perceive to be an enemy by making an enemy and beating an enemy into a friend is the quickest way to get rid of the enemy, if you see what I'm saying. So, I really would like to reach out to constables and sergeants and the rank and file and just say to them, look, the public will be on your side if you are on our side. If you follow this political and corporate line that they're trying to get you in, you're going to be hated. And it's like I see 100 coppers turn up at the fracking demonstrations. They can't send one copper around to an elderly person that's been burgled with, it takes them 3 or 4 days, but they can send 100 coppers to deal with 20 fracking protesters that are pensioners. They find resources when they need it. And whilst the rank and file coppers haven't got the ability to say where they go, the rank and file coppers should be getting on to the inspectors and saying, do you think this is overkill? And we think we'd be better off looking after the people on the street rather than the corporate cocksuckers that can afford the security. But, it's just not happening that way.
Well, it's fair, isn't it?
Bill? Anyone there?
Yeah, I was just saying, it's a bad state of affairs, isn't it?
Sorry, bro, you broke up, mate. Is that me?
I'll try refresh.
Is it me, guys? Will do.
How's that? Is that any better? Yeah.
Catches up, doesn't it? Well, I think it's the system, isn't it? It's got to be, well.
I'm back, I think.
Welcome back, Chris.
Sorry, guys, it's this phone and being in the bath don't help because it's quite echoey in here, I think. So, but no, I've had. The thing is, this is where the police are completely oblivious to how to come across now. And they're so scared to say the wrong things. And if they had a strong moral compass about them, they wouldn't have to worry about what they said because they'd know that they were morally correct in their views. And that's why I'm never bothered about arguing my points with people. If you've got the truth behind you and you've sort of thought about the moral aspect of it, there's nothing to be tripped up on, really. They simply could have answered that truthfully and morally and made friends. They could have done that really well. Would have put the video out, they'd have got a few thousand views and everyone would have gone, them coppers done really well. But what's now happened is coming up to 60,000 people have viewed it on Facebook alone, and it's made them look worse. Now, throughout the whole hour that I was there, or 45 minutes, I mean, they were only supposed to be there for an hour. No one was there to speak to them. No one cares. And they could have engaged with more people on my Facebook than any amount of people that would have turned up to those silly meetings that they don't promote. And the only reason I knew they was there was because I had a Facebook notification come up, because I've obviously got a notification thing for any Coffee with Cops thing. But every time I go to these Coffee with Cops things, no one's there. They're sitting there drinking a coffee with no one to talk to.
Do you know what I reckon is there, Chrissy?
Sorry?
Wait, hold on a minute, Jeff. Weren't that the second time then? Because you're right, Chrissy. The first time nobody turned up. Am I right?
Yeah, I didn't see a single soul. I got there bang on time, and there were the 2 volunteers sitting there, and then the 2 coppers turned up 20 minutes late. I think I probably had 20 minutes or half an hour chatting to them whilst I was eating a burger and having a ice lolly. Then we had about 15 or 20 minutes. So I probably left that with 5 minutes of their allotted time left. And they didn't have a single person want to talk to them or come over. There was no one there to speak to him. You know, after I had the row with them and recorded it, I stuck around for another 10 or 15 minutes just to see what they wanted to do, because I was half thinking they might try and arrest me. No one walked over to them. They didn't speak to a soul. So the whole situation, they didn't have a single person to talk to other than me. And
I think
sorry, go on.
I think they would have done a lot better if it was a coffee and a copper and a Dunkin' donut. He should have had Dunkin' donuts there.
I mean, the next day, when I went to another coffee with cops in Witham, which is the town over from me, there was one PCSO lady there, another one turned up later, and not a single person come over and spoke to them then.
Yeah, no Dunkin' donuts.
I believe that it is more for people to go to and inform on other people. That is what they're not there to answer your questions, to interact with the public. I think they're there for people that are going past to grass on their neighbours.
Yeah,
because there's they've got no want to sort of like get themselves out there. I mean, on the second meeting I went to, the one the day after, I asked the lady again. I said, "Will you be recorded?" She said, "Oh, I'm not too sure. I have to work around. I have to live and work around here." So she was fine. So I said, "All right, babe, I won't record you." And I said, "Can I record your hat whilst I'm asking you this question?" And she reluctantly agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked her the question. She came out with a brilliant question, and I said, at the end of her talking, I said, "This is what I was asking for yesterday, and this PCSO has been absolutely fine, and I commend her because she did seem like a good PCSO. She seemed like the sort of girl that wanted to help and that wouldn't be a complete see you next Tuesday for no good reason." And then she went, "Oh, I'm really sorry, but I was just wondering, could you not put that out on your YouTube channel, please?" And I went, "Okay, not a problem." So I deleted it. I said, "Can I put a picture of your hat on, love?" And she went, "Oh, yeah, that'd be okay. That'd be okay." But she was even wary to allow me to put a picture of her hat on my timeline. It's crazy now how I'm struggling for my words now, how depressed the police force are. Back in the day when coppers were good coppers, they could tell you what was right and what was wrong. Now they're all saying no comment.
It's sad affairs. I think a lot of it is to do with the training. I think.
Yeah, it's they're oppressed by their job now. They are told that they've got to follow orders. And the thing is, it's like one of the PCSOs in the video, the one that was quite quiet, I'd met her at a previous coffee with cops meeting, and I'd said to her, "Do you know what the Nuremberg trials were?" And she didn't know. Now the lady was around my age, yeah, and neither copper had a single idea what the Nuremberg trials were, a Nuremberg defence was, and both of them thought that they were duty bound to follow orders. And I had to explain to them that if they thought an order was immoral and wrong, that they actually
refuse it.
Yeah, they've got to refuse it by law, and that. I was only following orders and I was doing what I was told and I was only doing my job. That is no defence in law. And that was the precedent for that was set in the Nuremberg trials because that's what all the Nazis said. And I said to her, "Look, I'm not calling you a Nazi. I'm just using it because it is the best way to, illustrate to you how what you think is right is actually wrong. And they have failed you by not informing you." I think that every single child, probably at the start of secondary school, should have to do something that completely explains the Nuremberg trials and superiority orders to them, so that they are left at an early age with the fact that whatever they do, they cannot blame on someone else. And obviously, you've got duress. You know, if someone's standing there with a gun to your head, self-preservation is going to rule. You know, because you obviously want to live more than you want someone else to live most of the time. So there is the duress thing, but you know, because that was one of the things that a copper said to me before. Oh, but if we're under pressure, and I said to them, the thing is, what you've got to realise is, if there is a way for you to get out of that order, you know, if you don't think that order is correct, you've got to swerve the order, and however you get out of swerving it, do it. For instance, I didn't hear what you said on the radio. The radio cracked up. You know, that is a way of, oh, I'm sorry, my radio battery went, so I couldn't hear you give me that order. That is stuff that stops an atrocity happening and someone being made liable. If you follow orders blindly that you know to be immoral, you do deserve everything you get.
Very true. I think that's a very poignant point. Yeah, it would be nice to see him stand up to that. Like, for example, when we get these people at these fucking protests, when the people start getting heavily handed and that, some of them should come down and say, no, I'm not doing this, this is wrong. And just
see, the thing is, right, and this is what I mean, you know, I'm having massive problems with this right now, because everyone gets in touch with me and they tell me that they know their rights. And they go, it's my right for X, Y, Z. And what they don't realise is, along with having rights, you also have responsibilities.
Yeah.
And whilst you should be given all your rights, are you fulfilling all your responsibilities as well? And people just don't realise that they've got responsibilities now. And I think it's the push in modern life that to be a good person.
Yeah. I mean, see, freedom and responsibility go hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right, well, you can write someone.
Guys, I've got to get out of the bath. I think I'm talking too loud and my kids are in bed. I love you so much. I will be on hopefully next Sunday. I'll see you in Messenger, guys. Love you all.
Cheers.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Take care, Chrissy. Bye, mate. Ah, lovely, isn't he, Chrissy? Lovely love. Yeah, I think we've covered a fair old bit tonight. Have we got anything else we want to talk about, guys? Or
This is why there's the destruction of individual sovereignty, self-responsibility.
yeah,
This is why they destroy. And family morals were destroyed in the 80s onwards. So this is what they don't want you want. They don't want you to be self-responsible or responsible for yourself, because it wouldn't serve their purpose. And I think Chrissy deep down knows the answers to the questions he's asking the police. And I think we all know the answers, but to get people to admit to the answers, I don't think you'll ever will. So maybe it's time to stop worrying about asking questions and just getting on and try to use our own individual sovereignty, as Jordan Peterson says, and to build something, start to build a platform or a structure for the future generations to kick on from. I think that's where we ought to be. But then, that's just me. That's what I feel anyway. Because to get them to admit what they're doing, why they're doing it, I think is a waste of time.
I think you're probably right there, Stav, to be honest. I think they're banging their heads against the brick wall on that one. I think they're absolutely spot on, mate.
It's one word, Jeff. They all protect the system.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's their job. That is their job, all said and done. If they sign up and take the shilling, whether it's army, police, people in authority, members of parliament, the Official Secrets Act, and take the oath, take the shilling, that is their job. They signed up to it, and that is it. With whatever it means at the end of the day, I think it's you're not going to get admission to what you're thinking, what it's about, because
Oh,
I mean, do you need it anyway? Do we? Do you need it? Do you need it? Do we need it?
Also, Stav, I think they're trained not to interact with people, from what I've seen. Because if you go to look at a lot of these protests and things like that, people are trying to chat to them, and they won't even offer up a bloody opinion. It's like they're told that they can't interact with you or offer an opinion or anything like that. So they're like robots almost. It's like, it's like they want to talk. It's like you can see the corners of their mouth sort of just starting to turn, and then it's like it goes back straight again. Do you know what I mean? Like they want to talk and they realise, oh shit, I'm better not. I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to offer an opinion. When people are just conversing.
No, they're not. Their hands are tied.
Yeah.
To give them, in their defence, their hands are tied. At the end of the day, one of the professions I've spoken to one or two. I even had one as a family member that served in the constabulary, as they say. They all can't wait to retire and collect their pension.
Right. Yeah.
They're never more happy. All they talk about is, I've only got a couple of, don't ask me, mate, I've only got a couple of years to go for my pension and I'll be out of it. Like if they can't wait. So I've noticed that about them, that
it's all
yes.
for the money, all for the love of money.
Well, yeah, it's not so much the money, it's just that they, once they're in this thing and they've been there for a while, they just want to get out of it, but they can't until their time is served. Their 20 years or whatever it is, I don't know what it is now or whatever, and then they're out of it. Then they don't have to face these problems anymore.
Well, this is when I say it's all about the money, it's about their security as well, for their pension and all this. It all boils down to money, whether it's their pension or their security or all this. It all comes down to the dollar. Oh, excuse me. It all comes down to the dollars. Always the dollars, mate. It's it's sad, but it's I'm afraid it goes back to the old saying, isn't it? Money talks and bullshit walks. At the end of the day, and sadly, it's money that makes this world go round. Unfortunately, well, it's not, but people like to think it is. But sadly. Oh well.
Well, yeah, this is the battle that's going on. I think
It is
throughout
what
the whole world.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yes, if you think you've got a handle on it, it is what it is. Try and do your best to bring a change for the better. That's all you can do. I know it sounds corny, and that's all people already know this anyway, deep down, and that's what's got to be done. Certain people will want that because they're quite comfortable as they are. Other people are quite willing to live their life away. And let's not underestimate the small amount of people that are what they call awake or whatever, who are tuned into this. I mean, Chris is one in his area, one in thousands, and you are, Jeff, and PJ, and most people are in the alternative side of thinking. But we're only the tiny minority. Majority. I wasn't surprised when Chrissy said they didn't never heard of the Nuremberg trials and we were only following the orders, but it's not an excuse, and people were hauled above. Lord Shawcross was the guy who judged it. Lord Shawcross, his name was, and he never lived too far from me. He had a big estate about 8 miles from me. His mansion in the hills, the Shawcross estate, and that's who, yeah, was the judge in that.
We've had some interesting chats tonight. I don't know if PJ wants to wrap up soon or not, but before we go, could I play a funny little clip for us on YouTube? A bit of humour to see us out.
Go on then.
No, it's audio and it's a YouTube video. What do you mean? Sorry.
I've not got OBS set up to put a video through at minute, so.
Well, but I mean, you know, if I play it as a YouTube video, the sound will still go out. Oh, it's
Yeah,
just the
sound will go through, but there'll be no video for the viewers.
Oh, you needed to see it, really. Never mind. All right, we'll leave that then. I was just going to see us out with a little bit of humour, a bit of Harry Enfield. But,
Loads of money.
no worries, no worries. Anyway, I don't know if you want to wrap it up from there, PJ. We've had a good old natter tonight, haven't we? It's up to you.
Yeah, very good natter. Anything else you want to mention?
Right,
No.
I'm much covered, mate. For tonight, I think we've had a good old chat.
Boris Johnson's going to be the next leader of the Tory party and probably the Prime Minister, so there we are. That's how we started, and we're finished.
I think there'll be an improvement on Theresa May. And definitely.
The Maybot.
Eh?
The Maybot.
The Maybot.
To some people, some newspaper called her the Maybot, but I don't know. Anyway.
Right.
All right, and
Right.
cheers then. Thanks, PJ. Cheers, Jeff. All the best.
Alright, guys, cheers for that. And Chris there, Joester. So we're back next week, next Sunday. Probably just keep these open mics going for a bit.
It was a good day. Good night, mate.
Yep, cheers, guys.